The next contender in our countdown of extreme loudmouths could have come straight from a horror movie. It may not be a giant, but it really does terrorize cities. Crawling in to number 5 in the countdown is the loudest insect in the world, the cicada. This little bug can be as loud as a chainsaw at full throttle. They make this exceptional noise with a pair of ribbed membranes at the base of the abdomen. By contracting and releasing internal muscles, the membrane flexes. It's a bit like pushing a paint tin lid. When the membrane pops inward, it produces a pulse of sound. In quick succession, the effect can be deafening. Smaller species sing in such a high pitch that it can't be heard by humans, but may cause dogs to howl in pain. The noise is actually a mating call belted out by males. Each species has its own distinctive song that only attracts females of its own kind. But then, cicadas aren't the only residents in big cities that generate a lot of noise. Welcome to the streets of New York, one of the loudest cities in the world. One man who assesses these noise levels is Martin Schiff, an acoustical consultant for Cerami Associates.
The noise that you hear on the street in a place like New York, it can really be dissected into a dozen different sources. You have cars and trucks, they have engines and horns, and there's tire noise. Buildings have air conditioning systems, they have fans and blowers. You've got people talking all around you. An interesting thing in a dense city like New York is that when you have tall buildings that are close to the street, the sound tends to reverberate in the street, it tends to dwell. Times Square is probably the loudest place in New York City on the street level.
Many recordings here show levels in excess of 85 decibels. Prolonged exposure to this volume of sound can cause permanent damage to the tiny hair cells in the inner ear, leading to hearing loss. Perhaps the citizens of New York could learn something from the cicada. These loudmouths must protect themselves from the volume of their own singing. That's why they retract a tendon that creases their eardrum and prevents damage from these intense vibrations. However, wearing internal earmuffs would be a real problem for our next contender. It uses sound to see in the dark. The night can be full of terrifying noises. Yet one of the scariest animals of them all is a loudmouth that we can't hear. A bat can scream its head off, and yet we'll never know it's there. Bats are number 4 in the countdown because they can generate incredibly loud noises that are too high-pitched for us to hear. This is ultrasound, and bats use it like sonar to see in the dark. They send out high-pitched screeches from their mouth and listen for the echo. Bats use ultrasound because it bends less and reflects a more accurate picture than those frequencies we can hear. They use their super high-pitched screams both to navigate and hunt. Bats on the prowl emit about 10 calls a second. But this rate increases to 100 or more when it closes in for the kill. That's how bats can determine the size, location, and movement of any insect at a distance, no matter how dark it is. But bats aren't the only ones to use sound to see. Ivan Pivac is blind, yet he has no trouble navigating the streets of Auckland, New Zealand, thanks to some technology borrowed from the bat. Ivan wears a head unit that sends out silent ultrasonic waves. Just like a bat, the echo bounces back, providing information about the distance and density of the objects he encounters. The unit was developed by the director of Bat Technologies, Leslie Kay. After many years of studying bat sonar, Leslie worked out a way to convert the silent ultrasonic signal into a sound we can hear. He calls it acoustic flow. By listening to the stream of sound, an experienced user can navigate with remarkable precision.
I compare myself to a bat because that's exactly what I'm doing, using bat sonar to navigate within my environment. The bat knows the difference between a piece of food and something it can't eat. Likewise for me too, when I'm travelling in my environment, I know the difference in the surface between, say, a human and a telegraph pole.
Someday, Ivan and Leslie say that users will be able to distinguish between different faces. But it'll take some time before our technology can match these loudmouths. Bat sonar is so precise it can distinguish between objects only separated by twice the width of a human hair. So far, we've heard bats in the dark and bugs in the park. But still to come, we'll meet an animal that talks really loud by blowing bubbles out its bottom. And we'll discover why some people blow up their car using nothing but noise.